online mortgage seminar. If you're tuned in today, you're obviously thinking of buying a property or maybe renovating your existing property. And while you might feel that the process is a bit daunting, hopefully the next 10 or 15 minutes will shed some light on it and obviously help you get started. Either way, both I and my colleagues across our countrywide network are committed to supporting you through every step of the process. And I hope that when you do choose your home, that you'll choose AIB as your mortgage provider. We have a solution for every property transaction. Whether you're a first-time buyer or maybe you're selling your existing property and thinking of buying a new home, you might be trading up or trading down. If you have an existing mortgage with AIB and you're looking to do some renovations or extensions, we can give you a top-up on that mortgage. You may also be looking to build your own property, and if that's the case, AIB will be prepared to finance the purchase of the site and also fund the building of the property itself. You may look at choosing to buy an additional property, a second property, as a holiday home, maybe additional accommodation for children going to college, or even as an investment property. We also acknowledge that some of you might be in negative equity and still need or want to actually do an extension to your property or maybe buy a new property. And either way, we'll support you through that process as well. We have over 200 mortgage advisors across our countrywide network, and I would recommend that you make contact with them as early as possible in the process. These are very experienced people, and they're only dying to meet you and actually help you through the process. So they can explain all the steps involved in making an application. Depending on your particular circumstances, they will set out all the supporting information that you would need to actually gather to submit your mortgage application. They'll also give you a hand or tell you what to expect as regards timelines from the time you submit your application, when you might expect to get your approval, when you'll expect to get your full formal letter of offer, and they'll also assist you with the drawdown process if necessary. Alternatively, you can go online, and AIB has a market-leading online proposition. Unlike the traditional calculators that were there in the past where you put in your gross income and it'll give you an indicative figure as to how much you could borrow, AIB's online calculator allows you to put your net income in. You can then submit all of your financial details, and this calculator will give you a figure that the bank will be able to commit to, subject to receiving a full application with all supporting documentation, so you'll know exactly how much you qualify for. You can go one step further in this process and you can actually submit a full application online. So what you do there is you actually submit all of your personal information, all of your demographics, etc., and submit it directly online into AIB. On receipt of that, AIB will correspond with you within 48 hours, setting out all of the supporting information that we'll require to get you a full sanction in principle, and then following that we'll get you a full formal approval. Irrespective of whether you go through the branch or online, I would recommend that you get a sanction in principle as early as possible in the process. And what this means basically is that you submit a full application with all of your financial details, all your supporting information, etc., and get the bank to give you a formal sanction in principle subject only to property details. What this allows you to do is to go out into the market and to shop around in your own price range. When you've seen a property that you like, you can then be a little bit more aggressive on how you bid for it because you know that you've got full approval. Once you've got the property details, you can submit those to the bank, and again this improves the process because once you submit it and you're already approved in principle, we can issue with a letter of offer within 48 hours of receiving those details. At this point in time, I'd also recommend that you organise your insurances. It's important that you get your mortgage protection and your general insurance in place so that when you come to drawdown that these don't delay the process. And again, your mortgage advisor will be more than happy to get a specialist within the bank to talk to you about those products. Irrespective of which of the channels you go to apply for a mortgage, there's a certain amount of information that the bank require. The bank will need an AIB salary cert, which is stamped by your employer, and that basically gives us the details of your employment and your income details. We also need to get last year's P60 and 3 months payslips, most recent payslips. And this has allowed the bank again to look at your income and get a consistent income that we can assess your repayment capacity on. If you're non-AIB banked, and we're quite happy to take applications from non-AIB bank customers, we just need an additional 6 months bank statements for your current account, savings and investment, and any other outgoings that you might have. If you're self-employed, again, obviously your income is a little bit different. So in that case, we need to get 3 years sets of accounts. And again, the purpose behind this is to look at the consistency of income to ensure that we're lending against an income that you can depend on. On top of that, we'd also need to get a letter from your accountant confirming that your tax affairs are up to date, and also a tax balancing statement. A lot of you out there might be on contract employment, and again, this is not a problem. But what we would need in addition to the normal supporting documentation is a CV-style history of your employment. And this is to give us a sense of the consistency of your employment, which obviously underpins the consistency of your income. As part of that CV, we'd also like to see your educational details. We also would need to see a copy of the contract, and the bank would normally expect that somebody would be in employment with the one employer for a minimum of 12 months, or at least be in their second contract. How much can I borrow is one of the biggest questions we get asked all the time. And again, the bank would use repayment capacity as the main determinant for looking at a mortgage application. So what we need to see is what your disposable income is, and we use a net disposable calculation to assess this. And again, it's very similar to the online calculator that we discussed a minute ago. So what we do is we look at your net disposable income, or your net income. From that, we deduct all of your financial outgoings that you're committed to in the short to medium term. We also need to allocate a certain amount of money for cost of living. We need to ensure that there's ample funds there for somebody to live on before they actually need to make their mortgage payments. So in the case of a single person, we would allocate €1,300. In the case of a married couple or a couple, we would allocate 2,050, and we would allocate €250 for every dependent after that. So once you've allocated your cost of living expenses and all other outgoings, what's left is known as your net disposable income, and that's available to make mortgage repayments. We also need to ensure that not alone is it enough to make the current mortgage repayments, but that if the interest rates went up by 1 or 2%, that there's ample repayment capacity there to actually take care of a repayment of slightly higher than what you'd be currently paying at the moment, just to ensure nobody gets into any difficulty. What I would recommend is that you start saving as early as possible, even before you maybe decide to get into the property game. I would say start saving a small amount of money, call into your bank, open up a savings account. You can build on that as you get closer towards making the decision to enter the property market. Make an appointment with your mortgage advisor as early as possible. They're very experienced people, and they'll take you through the whole process and give you great advice. Work out how much you can afford in conjunction with your mortgage advisor, or go online and work it out on our online calculator. I'd get a sanction in principle irrespective of whether you have a property or not. In that way, it allows you to go out and shop around. You can be more aggressive in the bids you can have, and you may well be competing with people who already have a formal letter of offer, who are cash buyers, so you need to be well down the process at that stage. Once you're there and you find your home, you can then appoint your solicitor and your valuer. Once you submit the details of your new property, the solicitor and the valuer, AIB will be able to give you a full formal letter of offer within 48 hours. That allows you then to finalise the contracts with your solicitor. You need to put those insurances we talked about in place. So again, hopefully you'll have them arranged well in advance, and now all you need to do is actually give your advisor or your consultant the nod to actually put them in place. And at that stage then you're in a position to actually close and buy your own home.